Good evening, guys. It is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. This Bathrobe business. I got my decaf coffee and I got the news. So I'm going to keep it kind of short and sweet today. I don't feel like there's a lot of stories to cover. We've covered a lot of content this week in regards to the market, tariffs, market trends, where I think the market's going. So today, I think there's just two or three stories that I think are of interest that we haven't covered this week, and then I'll just check out for the weekend. So let's jump into the market. Numbers were pretty good today. I don't know how far the Dow actually went up, but it's closed above 40,000. It's slowly recovering the gains that it had lost when all of the tariff news came out. Gold is slightly down. I think this is still a strong buy. Like I've said, this gold is going to 5,000. I think that's without question. We had 3,500 for the first time this week. It's just pulled back because there's ease on tariffs, but it doesn't really matter. This number is going up one way or another. We finally, I think, killed crypto. Anyone who's serious in the market is looking at gold. If you read between the lines, if you look at what a lot of the people with money are doing, more and more they're moving into gold for stability. There's a fantastic podcast I highly recommend. It's called Multipolarity. I've talked about it on this channel before. I think it is one of the best channels, produces some of the best content on geopolitics and understanding economics and the world through a geopolitical lens. It's like Peter Zion, but it's not a neocon, neolib perspective. It's totally free of that. It's fantastic. You can find it, I think, anywhere you find podcasts. I watch it on YouTube. They only release maybe one podcast a week. They do have a Patreon channel, which I should subscribe to, but I don't because I'm cheap. But they have fantastic news. And today they were bringing up this very issue. It's always nice to hear your opinion validated by people you respect and people you think are intelligent. And they were literally talking about how everyone is moving out of crypto and moving into gold as they see it more as a safe haven. There's even chatter that hedge funds are going to be investing in it as well. They brought up an interesting metric, which I'll reiterate here again, and you should go listen to their podcast because they talk about it better. They say that there's the taxi cab test, and I've heard this before. When your taxi driver starts telling you to buy something, you know it's reached kind of its peak and it's time to sell. And so when everybody, and even the taxi driver is talking about, or I guess Uber driver to make it more up to date, is talking about crypto, you know it's time to move out of it. But nobody's talking about gold yet. And so gold still has a way to run. If you remember, last time gold had a run like this, it was in the 08 crisis, even though it's actually exceeded that price exponentially at this point. But during the 08 crisis, everybody was doing we buy gold. That's probably going to come back. Once that starts reaching a fever pitch, that's a good time to sell. But seeing as how gold's already at 3,500 and nobody's still talking about it, I think it's got a long way to go before anybody realizes it. So great business idea. We buy gold. You can go on eBay. There's machines that can do gold testing to find out what kind of carat content the gold is, how diluted it is. Is it 14 karat? Is it 18 karat? You can buy for pennies on the dollar. You can actually refine it yourself. There's stuff on YouTube. All you need is really a blowtorch, some borax, nitric acid, and you can do an amazing thing by refining some of this gold and making a pretty penny. You can just collect it and send it into refining and get money that way. But it's a fantastic business idea. Highly recommend it. Gold is going to go up. So that was my rant. Now, some of you that watch the channel might be wondering, did I buy or sell Google? So I was right. Google had Alphabet had a fantastic quarter. Sales, advertising was one of the leads of what caused its revenue to go up, but it also did fantastic with cloud storage and AI. But it's Google's overall advertising brought in about $66.89 billion, up 8.5% from a year prior. So it's good to know my instincts were correct with that. Google killed it on advertising, kind of like I suspected they would. And their numbers were up. Now, I actually sold Google before the close of the bell, which was a stupid mistake. But if those that listen to me didn't, you probably are going to make a pretty penny by the morning. So the reason I did that is at one point today, Google was up and it had hit it had gone above both its 13-day and 50-day moving average. That's a metric I often subscribe to, and I might have mentioned it in passing here on the channel before, but I didn't in yesterday's video. So yes, Google did exceed that. I often use that as a benchmark when I'm trading. I figure that if I buy something below that number, it's cheap. If I sell above it, I've made a good amount of money and I've hedged my risk. And so Google exceeded that amount. It was above 160 today. That was when I sold it. I sold it for 160 and change, made a pretty good penny, and walked away. Now, after the bell, when it closed, it did report fantastic earnings. And in the aftermarket hours, it was up about 4%. So if it continues to be up 4%, I would have made probably anywhere from $800 to $1,000 more had I stayed in the market just another 20, not even 24 hours, probably 16 hours. But I didn't. I chickened out and I jumped ship. I didn't have the diamond hands. But those of you that didn't are going to have a fantastic open tomorrow morning. We'll see what the numbers actually show once the market opens. But I think it will be up about 4% in trading. Oh, sorry. Another story I thought was very interesting is Meta is finally seemingly shutting down its what I would call flagship product of its virtual reality division. So I think this is also going to be fantastic for the stock price. So Meta lays off employees working on virtual reality. Now they're being very shady about what's actually happening with this department, how many people they're laying off, and how that's going to affect their bottom line. But we do know that virtual reality has been a drag on Meta's profits for a while. Their lab division logged in an operating loss of $4.97 billion, while scoring $1.1 billion in sales during the fourth quarter. This was just the last quarter when we reported on it. And remember, last quarter they actually had a fantastic quarter, and they still made money. It was still a fantastic quarter, but they would have made almost $5 billion more had they not had that virtual reality department. It is still kind of crazy that they're spending that much money on it. Like, you really, with as large as these corporations are, you just look at $1 billion and it means absolutely nothing. That's insane. That's citywide budget. Like, let's see what the budget is of Salt Lake City, our hometown. Salt Lake City yearly budget. So Salt Lake City's yearly budget is only $475 million. So this is 10 times. So 10 Salt Lake Cities is how much Meta spent on virtual reality in the fourth quarter alone. In the fourth quarter alone. That is so stupid. That is so amazingly stupid. This is why we need a more tough economy. This is why the economy needs to get tougher so that these corporations can actually run more efficiently. That's just ridiculous to me. That's insane when you phrase it like that. Last story I'm going to cover, like I said, today's kind of like a hodgepodge kind of day. I'm just throwing ideas out there and throwing out stuff that's in the market. There's this great story from Axios. I highly recommend you go check this out. It doesn't go that much more in depth other than what you're seeing here on the screen. In fact, let me just blow it up fully. I think this is a great chart. It shows how much money the federal budget spends by department or division. So how the U.S. government spends $1. Of the $1 spent, 31 cents goes back to Americans. This is mostly in the form of Social Security, but there's also some other permanent payments that come in through there as well that aren't directly Social Security. 14% is used to buy health insurance, so you've got your Obamacare stuff. However, another 12 cents is paying medical bills to healthcare providers. That's your Medicare and Medicaid. So combined, those two numbers are about 26 cents of every dollar is spent just on U.S. healthcare. Another 13 cents is spent on interest on the national debt. That's massive. 2 cents is spent on military wages. 1 cent is spent on federal law enforcement, and 26 cents is spent on the rest. Now, there's something interesting going on here in that number seems a bit skewed. And what I mean by that is they talk about military wages is only 2% of the budget. However, that's not military spending. Let's not forget, military spending is independent of wages. How much money is spent on the military we're talking about maintaining bases. We're talking about supplying food, electricity, fuel, all that stuff. That number just doesn't seem to be in this chart. And I wonder where that number is. It's definitely a component of the 26 cents. How much of that component, I don't know, but I would say a large majority of it, seeing as how one of the basic tenets of a federal government is defense. So, if at the very least half of that is maintaining infrastructure, which we know it's not half because our infrastructure is shit, the other half is probably going to be military spending through weapons programs and everything else in between. So a lot of stuff here you can cut is all I'm saying. The fact that we need to get our debt under control, seeing as how 13 cents of every dollar is just maintaining the national debt. That's for those that are doing the math. That's about 13% of of every dollar just goes to pay off interest. And that number is steadily rising. So that can be taken care of. If we actually had a comprehensive health plan in this country, which I encourage Robert F. Kennedy to do, I think a lot of people are too pessimistic with him. If we just all collectively lost a ton of weight and exercised, we probably would have a better economy. But another 26% there, and probably another 13 cents could be shed from the military budget as well. That's pretty much it. Those are the stories of the day. Like I said, short and sweet, nothing too thrilling. I've had better days than this, but I did want to report on it because I won't have a video obviously tomorrow because it's Friday, and so I won't see you guys till Monday. I hope you guys have a productive weekend, a productive Friday, and I'll see you guys back here Monday evening. Bye.